Hello, and welcome to the Healing Dreams Project, exploring projective dream work for your health and wholeness with hosts Billy Ortiz and Dr. Royce Fitz. I'm the producer, Viviana, and today we will explore a dreamer who called into our Dream Hotline. Help me welcome Diane. Hello, and thank you for sharing your dream with us.
Well, thank you for working on it with me.
Yes, we're excited about this. So, we're going to go ahead and play what we received on the hotline so that then we can project on it.
Hello, my name is Diane, and I'm going to tell you a dream. I dreamed I was in a house, and I don't recognize the house, and I was with my father was there, who he has passed on, but in my dream he was there needing care, and I was overwhelmed by the idea of being a caregiver for my father. I recently ended a caregiver role for my husband who passed away. So I was very overwhelmed by the idea of caring for someone else. And then, and this is pretty weird, but then I saw my dad, and I turned around, and there he was, and he was naked. And he also had a big erection. So there you go. That's pretty weird, and wonder what you make of it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yay for weird.
Well, one of the things that I always tell people is that we got to remember that dreams speak in the language of nature, and they don't really care about being politically correct or socially correct. It's all about getting the point across about the dream. And I come from the understanding that the dream always comes in the service of health and wholeness. So for me, this is a remarkable, shocking dream, which helps me to remember it. Otherwise, I might have just forgotten the dream completely as the dreamer.
I
So
think that's sorry.
go ahead. No, I'm finished. Go ahead.
Well, no, I think that is a really good point that the dream is trying to help us not forget the meanings, plural, the level of healing that the dream wants to bring to us. And there are no rules in dream world, and and that's good because it can put us into the weird space, as Diane said.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your dad, like when he passed on, and some information about his personality, adjectives to describe him, that kind of stuff. Oh, you're muted. Yeah.
He was he died at the age of 90, so he did live a long life. And about caregiving, interestingly, I'm just reminded of this. He had said he never wanted to be cared for by anybody. He was very independent.
Mm.
He was, you know, kind of a little bit of a rebel. I wasn't real close to him. He did divorce my mom when I was 12, and that kind of messed things up. But what he said about caregiving is he never wanted to be cared for by anybody. And so the day he died, he was starting to fail a little bit, but he lived alone. And my older sister had told him, Dad, I think maybe you need to come and stay with me just for a little while. And he agreed. So the day she went to pick him up to be cared for by her,
Mm.
he died of a heart attack.
Wow.
So he said he never wanted to be cared for by anybody, and by God, he wasn't.
Yeah. And how long ago was that?
Um, let's see. I think it was, let's see. I think it was about 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I just want to lift up to the listeners that we do not work on the dream ahead of time. So although we've listened to Diane's dream, we have on purpose avoided having hardly any conversation about it so that we can join in the moment with Diane as we do our projective work, our projective process. So it's as fresh as we can make it.
Right. That's right.
Diane, can you give us some descriptors of your husband?
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Well, and now his death was just really, it was about a month and a half before I made the call or had the dream. So it was really recent. And he had Lewy body dementia. And so his caregiving was very intense. Before he was sick, he was a musician, and he was still playing music even in his illness, and an artist, and just a very kind of a beautiful, creative person. He was also a ski instructor, so he was very physically fit, and I met him in high school. So I've known him a long time, but we didn't actually marry till actually pretty recently. After we were partnered, but we weren't married. But after he was diagnosed, I knew he needed an advocate, and I thought marrying him would make it a better way for me to be a medical advocate for him.
Right. Being next of kin. Yeah. So anything noteworthy about the house I'm in? I say that I'm projecting like as though it's my dream. So I'm in the house, and I say it's not a house I know. But is there anything noteworthy about the house at all?
I can't remember really anything noteworthy about the house.
Okay. Okay.
In the dream, I feel like this is my house.
I don't know. It could be my sister's house, actually. It doesn't feel like it's necessarily my house. I do remember my dad was wearing a checkered flannel shirt, which is a typical thing he would wear.
I was going to
Oh,
ask.
it is. Yeah,
Mhm.
it is typical of
Mhm.
your dad. What is your dad's first name?
Lynn.
Lynn?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
So for me, it's always, I have to ask myself, why this dream now? That's because the dreams can show me anything they want, and they can show it to me anytime they want. So my question would be, after my dad passed approximately 7 years ago, why did he come to me in my dream? And so one sliver of this is like, he's coming to say hello, I'm okay. But there's a whole nother big piece to that, if it were my dream, about what parts of me I project onto my father, and what do I see in him easier than I see in myself, is usually how it works. So there's this piece about as the dreamer, my inner masculine, because I recently lost my husband after a long, and by the way, I'm so sorry for your loss. So my heart's with you. And then there's this other piece about, my father. Now, my father's going to be the first person that I project any masculine onto. That's the way it is for all of us. It's like, dad, dear old dad, he comes. So he's going to be the first image of my inner masculine. And then, of course, later in life, my partner, my husband. So these are the masculine within. And how is this really what the dream is about? Coming to me to tell me there is this powerful inner masculine that looks like my dad, but not really my dad, but he shows up in the dream that way, so that I remember. And I also go, wow, he's naked and he happens to have an erection. So for me, anytime nakedness is shown in a dream, it's this shouting out of authentic self. It's like there is no covering, there is no persona that makes. Well, I do say that he's wearing a checkered flannel shirt at first, but then later I
Mhm.
say he's naked. So he's totally naked later, no shirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that's that taking off of the dad costume, so that I'm just as the father, I'm just the virile male, and that there's something about that, the erection making it seem as though he's very vital. This is a vital part of myself that's ready for something, the creativity to be expressed. It's like, here it is, we're ready. It's like, and I mean, it's like, and of course I'm like, it's my dad. I mean, it's not really something I want to see if it were me. So there's something about it being having to be a bit shocking, just to get my attention. That's part of the message of the dream if it were me.
I have a, sorry, Viviana, you go ahead. Okay, I have a question. So in the dream, I'm being told or suggested that I not do caregiving. Is that what I understood? And where was that message coming from?
I think it was just obvious that he needed care. I don't remember anybody telling me, but my sister, like, I think it could have been my sister's house. So there was some presence of both my sisters there. Um, because I mean, we're the only children, 3 daughters. And so it would fall on us. Um, but it's my oldest sister who was actually going to take him in to care for him that day that he died. But so it just was like, oh, he needs care. Oh, okay. And it felt like I needed to do it. I don't remember anybody specifically telling me.
So I'm aware that I'm aware my dad needs care. And I'm also, if I'm remembering the dream properly, I'm also having some misgivings about being involved again in deep, intimate care.
Right.
And is that coming from, in my dream, is that coming from the me in the dream? Is it coming from something outside of me that I'm like carrying dread or overwhelmedness?
I feel it's coming from me questioning my capacity to do it again so soon.
Yeah. So,
And back to Billy, your comments about the masculine, and my dad, I would have to say, represents to me the wounded masculine. And he and you know it's kind of, I mean, he left my mom for another woman basically because of his sexual drive, so I don't see that as a positive thing particularly. But then if it's me, if it's what's in me, well, I'm not sure, about how that relates to me, but my own wounded masculine, inner masculine, maybe, I don't know. Um,
so so the father left it's like you said it was around what, 12 or something?
I was 12. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
was
were
12 when they went.
right. So 12 years old. And see, and that to me, that seems like a very tender age as a young girl to realize, oh, my dad is gone. I mean, 12 is like right when we're starting to like become a woman, we're getting our period, we're kind of, everything's kind of we're growing into young women at that point. I mean, you're not quite a teenager yet, but I'm certainly moving into puberty. So it just seems to me that something. So if I say my father represents a wounded masculine, I would look at how that masculine was wounded. First of all, at the time my father left, and how did that structure me through the rest of my life since then? And is that part of the healing that's coming from the dream, is to help me realize I can regain this and and rebuild it into a much more positive masculine, because it sounds as though the husband had such a wonderful creative impulse. He was, an artist, a musician, just a lovely, beautiful guy that had really in touch with creativity. So in my dream, the caretaking that is crying out to be done is my creativity. I need to caretake my creativity, which I've had to put on the shelf for a while because I've been doing all this caregiving in the waking world.
Viviana's on mute.
Yeah, Viviana, go ahead.
Well, first, I wondered if Diane had anything to say after what Billy just said.
Well, I do think that, in fact, what I'm kind of trying to figure out now is who I am after all this caregiving. I mean, and at the point I had the dream, it was so soon after my husband's death, and then I got involved in this construction project, which this is actually used to be his room, but I don't know what made me do this so quickly after he died, but it's been good in a lot of ways, because at first I was walking down the hall and I'd look in the room and it would just be so full of all the illness,
Right.
But I have put a lot of creativity into this project now, recreating this space. And but it came so fast that I didn't have time to think of really who I am. And now it's slowing down a little bit. And so I guess the idea of the dream saying, well, who are you going to care for now? What does caregiving for yourself look like?
Yes.
And at that point, I had the dream. I wasn't even thinking of that at all. But now it's starting to come in. It's like, oh, I need to take care of myself. And also, my own inner, when you said it was a tender time for my dad to leave, it was. I mean, I had no, I see things online about fathers that supported their daughters and helped them through different relationships and everything. And I didn't have any of that. And so I need, I mean, I don't know, I've worked on it a lot. I'm 66. So, but I still think there's a wounded masculine inside of me that could be healed.
Oh.
I would like to, Viviana, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It just very much reminds me of something that happened in my real world. This dream resembles when my grandfather in Chile got dementia, and his caregiver, my aunt would say, he would come on to his caregiver thinking that the caregiver was the wife. So if this were my dream, yes, it's shocking what the actuality, what happened in the dream would be very shocking to me. But that's a good thing, because it's the reason why I remembered it. And it is the dementia kind of, I'd be dealing with very blurred lines in many ways. And so my husband, my father, my inner masculine, my inner father, my inner husband, all of these are getting diluted and blending. And it is, as Billy said, I would see it as an opportunity to focus on my own creativity, to focus more on my own caregiving. I've spent so much time giving to someone else, so I would see it as an opportunity to direct that creativity towards me.
I want to, if it's okay, Diane, do you need to respond before I say anything?
No, that's
So Viviana is, as we all are in this podcast, I experience this especially in the weaving that Viviana just expressed. This is a very non-linear understanding of relationships and process, uh, and so this father that's in me, this father that's external, this husband that's in me, this husband that's external, etc., etc. This is a beautiful blending of all of these mini selves that I have in my dream. And part of where I get goosebumpy at the moment is imagining in my dream that this father inside me being very vulnerable, very authentic, not so much vulnerable in my dream, very authentic and real, that in the first part of the dream, I see my dad in a flannel shirt, and that's so normal. It's kind of like the dream is saying, okay, here we go, lights, camera, action. Oh, there's my dad in his, and it gets me. And then suddenly in my dream, this being is without clothes, is authentic, is naked, and has an erection. Where I move, if I could use that term, where I move now is I'm sitting in this room that's under construction, that is under erection, and as a kid, well, not as a kid, as an adult, one of the plays on words about an erection is to look at a building and say, well, look at that erection, and it's like, that's a goofy male joke a lot of times. And this stands out to me as, yes, under erection, under construction, under a new version of being, expressing more authenticity. And so when I look at my wounded self, my wounded male self, I have done a lot of work in my life to heal this trauma that I experienced as a child. And I've made mistakes, I've made progress, and this is a new announcement. And I think when I'm in touch with my exhaustion in the dream, that is a really good message for me, is I don't want to go through this caretaking. And it's like, no, I'm going through, I'm done with that. I'm now giving creative energy to a self that I am reforming, redefining. And that is a beautiful, strong self that represents my lineage, my family heritage, of course, and is leading me into a new version in this phase of my life to express myself in brand new ways.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
yeah.
That resonates for me.
I'm thinking of an erector set.
Yeah, I remember those. But they were always for boys to play with, and I thought they were so cool.
That's true. Yeah, well, there's a reason why phallus images show up all over the world, everywhere. Every culture has them. And it's about being able to it's the symbol of creativity. It's the symbol that is perpendicular to the earth. It defies gravity and it reaches into the sky. So it's very, very much a male creative symbol. So every time we deal with a dream and there's a penis that's shown in the dream, I have to think of that image of the creative being represented through the phallus. So it's everywhere and it's all over the world. And so it's not something that only, is specific to any one person. It's within the collective unconscious. So this is something that's coming to me so that I notice it. It's got to be shocking because it's dad. So I'm going to notice it. And it's like the dream is saying, it's time. This is the time. Even though even though the clock time hasn't been that long since the passing of my husband, this is the time to act on it, to really grab this creative impulse and see where it takes me. And I love what Royce is saying, because the metaphor is as the dreamer, I'm actually in a room that's under construction. So there's whole parts of me and I don't even recognize the house. See, but then there's like this slight feeling that maybe it's my sister's house. And that kind of relates back to the actual what happened with in the waking life, that the sister says, hey dad, I think you should come over for let me take care of you. Then that's the day he checks out. So there's something about well, first of all, I admire the father for making that quick decision like that, making that if thinking of that being myself, if I had just said that my whole life, I don't want to be caregiving. I don't want to be in that caregiving kind of situation. And it's like, oh, well, now here I am. Suddenly it's like, oh no, that's it. Thank you. Bye-bye. So there's some kind of, I don't know, there's some kind of resolve with that I find very so for me as the dreamer, I would look at that and say, I can have the same kind of serious decisions in my life where I'm going like, yeah, this is where I'm going to stand. This is what I've decided. This is what I don't want. This is what I do want. And that's very much the masculine, the decisive action. It's that sword energy that cuts through and allows us to make those very important decisions.
Yeah, and that's one thing I admire about my dad, that he did that, because I could see the resolve.
Yeah.
And I tell that story a lot, that it was so specific. The day, in fact, my sister was there when he had the heart attack to pick him up. And she lives in a different state, so she had driven. It was like perfect. But I have been aware of the wounded masculine, and I think just not only in myself but in society. And I was in this. It's kind of another story, but it's recent. It's maybe it was after this dream or before the dream, but I was in a situation, and I saw, it was kind of a dream where I saw grandmothers, a whole bunch of grandmothers in like a sweat lodge, and they were like, we know how to heal the wounded masculine. The grandmothers know. And then they said, you are a grandmother. And I don't have children, so I've never really thought of myself as a grandmother. But so this idea of healing the wound, and then I realized I have to heal it in myself, before it's, I think about healing it in the world. But anyway, the idea that this came up in the dream is like, it's kind of a recurring theme of some other things.
Wow, that's beautiful. Yeah. So the healing of the masculine comes from the feminine, but it's the elderly feminine, the crone energy. So there's something in my version, since I believe now in my 60s, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna accept it, the crone energy, which is something unfortunately that has been you know, dismissed in a terrible way with society. That the word crone, in fact, has been really just completely just I don't even know the word. It's been discredited over time, and so women now think, oh, don't call me crone. That means I'm a crazy old hag, or that means I'm a witch, or I'm a, a cackling old woman. And actually, it's such a beautiful stage for a woman to be, because it's taking the crown of age, which is where the crone comes from. That's the name. So I'm amazed by this. Was it a dream or a vision, you said, of the
Well, it was
women?
kind of a vision.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the women and the grandmothers in the sweat lodge saying, we know how to save, to
Heal the wounded
heal
masculine.
the
Yeah.
wounded masculine. See, and that to me, that if it were my dream, that would be a very important vision to connect with this dream.
Do you think the dream offers any how-tos for that?
Oh, geez. Oh, that's a good one. Good question. Um, well, if it were me, there's something about allowing myself to be completely authentic, because the dad is totally naked. That's the most vulnerable we can be, is when we're naked. That's why dreams, when they illustrate nakedness, it's like, yay, whoopee, the vulnerable part of myself is coming out, the authentic self. There is, I do, as a dreamer, I do say, well, there's the original flannel shirt, but then but suddenly I like turn my back, and then I turn around, and dad doesn't have the flannel shirt anymore, and he's just standing there showing everything. So there's something about being willing to be completely vulnerable, being willing to open myself to everything and be ready, if it were me.
Okay.
To try to answer that question, I'm thinking that if it were my dream, that Gary sounds like he was not a wounded masculine figure in my life. So the juxtaposition of the two together, and embodying or surrounding myself more with my husband's energy, and I know that my husband's energy has probably helped heal my inner masculine woundedness, the trauma that I experienced when I was young. So being engulfed by that, and finding more of that, that's how I have done it in my life. And it's astonishing how healing just that is, just being around the opposite of what I experienced
Mm-hmm.
when I was younger.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
And believing that not everybody is that way. I had in my own personal life, I thought everybody was the other way. And it's just been surprising in my older years that, wow, there are nice guys all over the place.
Yeah, that's good.
I have a question. In my dream, when I see my father clothed or unclothed, do I notice any of his energy, his facial expressions?
No, I don't remember any of that.
So when I see him naked and with an erection, how does what generates inside me?
Well, I mean, there's two different tracks that my mind goes. Now, in the dream, I think it was just like shock. It was just like shock. Yeah. Yeah. And I do think, I mean, I do and as I'm processing the dream and projecting on my own dream, I have a couple projections on the erection part. And one is that, it's, I mean, there's a negative projection, like, this shouldn't be happening. But then, and that there were times that maybe there was inappropriate, not with me and my dad, but like with him leaving my mom and stuff. But then I'm also aware, because I did take some, have done some dream work before, and that oftentimes sex is not at all about, I mean, usually it's not about sex, but it's about union. And sometimes it has to do with union with God, which I know freaks a lot of people out when they think of that. And so I'm not quite sure where to go with that, but that did come into my head about, does it have something to do with spirituality? And of course, an erection also has to do with passion. Does it have something to do with passion and spirituality?
Yeah.
So I need to respond out of my own projective process. I had a dream years ago that is still alive to some extent with me. I don't remember when I had the dream. I was an adult, perhaps in my doctoral program, somewhere, which would be 20 years ago or so. And my grandmother and I were making love, one of my grandmothers. And as I've held that awareness of, the yucky, gooey, don't want to go there reactions, also, there is this calling of this grandmother energy, perhaps, grandfather energy, perhaps goddess energy that is being expressed in a way that is shocking to me, to help me move into new ways of being. And so when I have this dream about seeing my father standing naked, and I don't really see his face that much, I don't notice that. I know I'm shocked in the dream, which is to some extent exactly what the dream wants me to do, is to be shocked, because it breaks the old stereotypical patterns of how I think I'm supposed to be in the world. It breaks the rules. Thank goodness, thank goddess, the rules are being broken. And so this again speaks to me with such beautiful, shocking creativity. I don't particularly, and I may change my mind in a minute, so I'll say it that way. I don't particularly feel like this is a dream that is designed to remind me of my dad's indiscretions. And it's not reminding me of any indiscretions that he did to me as a child growing up. Now, are there tones? Was I shocked? Was I wounded because of the waking life trauma? Yes, absolutely. And this is like the goddess, God energy, whatever that means, healing power is taking on the costume of something to get my attention, to help me move into a new direction, so different than I've ever been before. Yeah. And I'm at this moment, I have goosebumps. I'm grateful for that shocking gift. And I remember the dreamer's question: what is this going to look like in the world? How shall I then live with this new awareness? And I don't know yet. I know that it is about beingness, and I don't want that to be a cop-out. Well, Royce, you got to be with this energy. Okay, that's true. I do believe also being has specific gifts to be shown to the world, to bring healing and health and wholeness to all of us who have wounded maleness within us, as well as wounded humanness within us. And this is a powerful dream, a strong erection. This is a powerful, energetic gift.
Wow. And getting back to what you were saying before, Diane, too, about dreams that mention sex or allude to sex or show physical sex in the dream. And thank you, Royce, for your sharing of your dream too. It's like, wow, I mean, and that's, if we can get past that, like I said in the beginning, if we can get past the social you know horror of it, or the idea of like, oh my god, no, I never want to have, make love with my grandmother, I don't want to make love with my father. If we can get past that social piece and realize that the dream is trying to illustrate something very clearly. And yes, Diane, I agree with what you're saying, that it's the dreams, so often when they talk about sex, they're talking about higher orders of longing to connect with the divine. So there's certainly a piece of that too. So this my father's erection would represent my creativity in the world, my ability to heal my wounded inner masculine, and also how to connect with whatever divine I connect with, or associate or resonate with. So there's some piece of me that also that all of this has to, this is where we get into the multi-layered, multi-dimensional piece of our dreams. It means all of these things at the same time, if it were me. So there, and then one more thing about the inner woundedness. My dad, I describe him as a wounded masculine. However, my father, imagining myself as a dreamer, my father having all these affairs, would certainly say to me that there must have been a wounded feminine inside, and constantly seeking through projection and figuring out all these serial attractions, trying to find that, heal that inner feminine within him, if it were me. So it goes both ways.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The woundedness.
Well, and I liked what Royce was saying about, I can't remember exactly the words, but that this is a time to do that, to be something I've never been before, to be completely different. Because it is a place of regeneration for me. What am I going to do with this? Am I going to be virile and or am I not? Am I just gonna, my tendency right now is just to, well, I've been creative, but I really have been withdrawing a lot and feeling like I don't want to talk to anybody. And so I don't know.
Yeah.
That reminds me of hibernating and the need to do that, or even the butterfly goes into the cocoon and a lot of creative juices come out, and then she extends her wings after some time. But it just sounds like that's what it would be for me. Death, any death in the dream or in a waking world is a huge transformation and a huge opportunity to go into hibernation, to go into the cocoon.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the butterfly does come out completely different than the caterpillar.
Yes, she has to dissolve.
That's what I was going to say. Totally dissolve.
How wild, how outrageous is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am remembering my own therapy, part of my own therapy journey, that my therapist said, as I was trying to wrestle with all the demands of the world, whatever that is,
Mm.
and they're real, and she said, uh, in some way, she put the words together better than I can do right now, but she says the world will not uh, support that, or expect, will not um, make it easy for you.
Mm.
And not necessarily the world is bad. It's just that the reality that we are always in is going to have energy. It's going to be pulling us, sometimes out of good reason, for us as we're trying to reform who we are, become more authentic. And so there's that built-in tension of trying to create a new world in my new section of my house and deal with the responsibilities that have happened before I decided to do that and after I decided to do this. So it's going to be tense. And I believe that's got to be okay. I love the example of the butterfly that Viviana expressed. There's a cocoon, and the caterpillar cannot control the weather or the trees or the things that she or he builds a cocoon on. Yet there is a cocoon. So that cocoon is going to do the best possible. And this is part of how I'm envisioning this new part of my house. This is the best possible cocoon I'm building. And there are the lightning storms and other kinds of things that will affect my cocoon. Yet this is the best I am able to do. So this is a new forming of myself.
Yeah, that feels good.
And I do have to say no to people, even if they don't like my no.
Yeah,
that's okay for me to say no. I'm lovable and competent and capable, and I'm okay to say no.
I'm dissolving into my new self. Let me be.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing, about the erection. That is the sperm that creates new life. So it's like there is some part of me that's ready to birth something new, and something very different than what it looked like before, what it felt like before. And that can be my inner masculine, that can be my association with the divine masculine, the creative masculine, all of the above. So it's something's ready to be birthed for me.
Wow. Awesome. Well, that feels really good. And this space, I was thinking I was going to be making it for like an Airbnb or something, but then I really thought, no, this is a place I just want to come and hibernate in, and be my cocoon. It's a little bit separated from the rest of my house, and so it's kind of going to be my little hibernation spot, at least for the season, at least for winter, through the winter.
Yeah. Well, that sounds beautiful in my version of that. Is there anything else you want to look at with your dream, Diane? Any parts that we skipped over that you want to look at closer, or anything else?
No, I think you really got to it. I mean, it feels really good that it's about transformation. It's about healing. And it's about, really having the opportunity to recreate myself now.
And turn that caregiving to me now.
Yeah.
Allow myself that possibility. The
Yeah.
care and love that I gave to my husband, give the care and that same care and love to myself.
Okay.
Mm.
I'll have to write that down because it's been really hard. I mean, I realize my life has gotten a lot simpler, but it doesn't feel like it. I'm still in the mode of all the complexity and all the stress. I haven't let go of that.
Right.
So that's part of the caring for myself, is so that I can relax into that.
What are some things that I love to dive into self-care?
Well, I'm really imagining being, coming into this room and having it be kind of a sacred space, and meditating, and just really reclaiming my spiritual practice that kind of went by the wayside when I was so busy with caregiving. So it's going to kind of be a little sacred space in here.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming today and sharing your dream. I think it's going to be really important for so many people to hear this dream and realize that sometimes when we get those shocking, kind of very surprising images in our dream, there's some reason I need to talk about. I need something in there that's valuable for my health and wholeness.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad you have a dream hotline. What a cool idea that is. So I hope other people will call in with their dreams and see that it's kind of a fun process.
Well, speaking of the hotline, the number is 720-573-9195. Again, if you have a dream that you'd like to share with us, the number is 720-573-9195.
Operators are standing by.
And it's a landline, so give it some time because it takes a while to pick up.
And I think it's 3 minutes to leave a dream. So we'd love to hear from you. Please give us a call. Well, in the meantime, Billy, tell us about how one can get a hold of you.
Well, you can contact me at wakeuptoyourdreams.com. That's my website. I offer groups throughout the month, 2 that meet during the afternoon and 2 that meet in the evening. I also help people to learn how to do dream work. So I offer a training program with the Rocky Mountain Institute of Projective Dreamwork. And I'm also getting back to in-person events, and my first post-pandemic retreat will be October 14th through the 16th in Boulder, Colorado. And actually this pond behind me is where it is at the place, Peaceful Meadow, where we'll be meeting.
Beautiful. And Royce, where can someone contact you other than your TikTok channel?
Yeah. Oh, that catches me off guard. Thank you, Viviana. I just need to lift up before I get into how to reach me. I just love this format that we do. I've listened to other podcasts and they're all good, et cetera, talked with numerous people that are wonderful about exploring dreams. And to do this in a gentle, if this were my dream format, is just so heartwarming for me, because of how we're so non-invasive. We're not analyzing or dissecting. This is a gentle, uplifting experience. And I'm thinking of the cocoon, the vulnerability of the caterpillar who forms this cocoon and then dissolves into this mass of goo, and how delicate this process is in order for healing and new life and a new unfolding to come about. So I needed to say that today. You can reach me at roycefitz.com or on my TikTok channel at roycefitz, where I oftentimes reflect on the geography of our souls as we try to navigate life, become reborn every moment, and deal with the realities within and without. I'm a spiritual counselor and dream worker, and I passionately love what I do. So thank you for joining us today. And Diane, thank you
Thank you so much.
Yes,
very
Diane,
much.
thank you for joining us and sharing this very important dream that we all, I think, will and have benefited from. I'm Viviana. I can be reached at viviana.org, viviana.org. I'm a musician, producer, but I also do astrology and tarot. And I love dream work. Well, thank you again for joining us. If you've enjoyed this podcast, if you've listened to it on our YouTube channel, please like and share. Also, we're available on iHeartRadio, Pandora, all over the place, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. We would appreciate your support. So, with that, once again, thank you, Diane. Thank you, Dr. Fitz.
Thank
and thank you, Billy. We'll see you next time. Happy dreaming.
Okay.